Oh, blimey.
Oh, hello, David.
Hello, Johnny. and hello, John, down in lovely.
Hello, everybody.
Warm. Is it warm? Hilda? Oh, blimey, that's it.
Very, very warm here.
Good.
I've just switched the air conditioner on in my bedroom and it's not working tonight. I don't know why.
Yeah, I've got my air conditioning on as well. I've just had to shut the flipping window. Blinking heck.
That's called central heating, David.
Oh, is it? All right. Sorry.
Who's that? Gizzy.
The giz was. Oh, hang on. Oh, Johnny's not got. Hang on. Oh, well done, Johnny.
Okay.
Right. What we got coming up? So, Hilda, how? Obviously, quick one. I hope you look all right, but are you feeling okay now?
Yeah, not too bad. It's been a bit of a not been a good week. Let's leave it like that.
Right.
I don't know what's wrong with me. I think it's the losing my immunity as I get older.
Right. Okay. Well, whatever it is, you're looking all right at the moment. So keep at it. All right.
2 Pete Stevens we've got now.
Only the two.
Two men.
No, we've got one. I only got one.
Back to one with no video.
Yeah, I can see him. You're good.
I can't see him.
No, you're right. There is two.
Yeah.
I'll just leave and come back in.
Well, but no, see, on the Zoom here in the main studio, Pete, there's only one, so there's no feedback, so it's good.
Can't see him.
I had a problem trying to get in tonight.
Did you? I
had to upgrade something or other.
It's nothing to do with your immunity.
No.
It's okay.
Gizzy, are you up here in a couple of weeks?
Oh, yes, Steve. Got my tickets.
We'll have to let you know then. We'll sort something out.
Okay, mate. Evening all.
Hello, Gizzy.
Good win for you yesterday, Dave.
It was actually, yeah. Yeah, it was very good. Very, very good.
Excellent. Yeah. Right, Fruity?
Yep. Not bad, mate.
Yeah, has everybody got their invitations for the reunion dinner?
Yes.
All done mine, yeah. I'm going to get that sorted.
All done. I did Bob's today for him.
Scotty, are you coming?
Yes, I'll be there.
Crikey, and Gizzy, are you hoping to come?
Yes, I've sent my thingy off on Friday.
Is Angela coming with you?
Yes.
And Scotty, is Jill coming with you?
She'll be there.
Blimey, it's gonna have to be a flipping massive table. All right.
I'm hoping to come Thursday night again and have a meet up like we normally do, either in JB or the Spoons or wherever.
Well, JB's closed at the moment. JB's closed. JB's closed. He went bust.
Oh
shit.
Was that after the last time we went there?
I don't know. Terry Bartholomew's messaged me in the week.
Right.
And told me.
We'll have to think of somewhere else.
Yeah.
Duke of Wellington's still open?
It might well be open again by then. It appears the brewery are trying to find someone to take it on.
Okay.
I think the problem with it was when he closed that back nice bar and opened that toss pot of a place, which was the old function room, he lost a lot of his regulars because of it.
Right.
You know, and some of the clientele in there weren't the most salubrious, were they?
Well, there's a hint of lavender there at one time.
I remember on one occasion there was more than a hint.
It was quite a bunch.
More than lavender.
It wasn't like no clientele in the 70s, was it?
Hey, are you going, Pete?
Do what, Jim?
Are you going to the pensioners do?
Yeah.
Good, excellent.
I've asked Dave to put me on your table.
Excellent.
Marvelous.
Okay.
Oh, hang on. When you said your table, which table, Pete? On Gizzy's?
Izzy's table.
Oh, cheers for that. Thanks very much. We'll obviously we'll give you a wave then. Oh, flipping great.
Well,
Yeah, you know.
Pat's already on the table.
Oh, Pat's on with you and Gizzy. Oh, great.
Wasn't there
Dave,
included?
is Pat going?
Yes, she is.
Ah.
Yeah.
How many's on a table normally? 10?
8 to 10, aren't they?
Yeah.
10 normally, I think.
And Brendan.
Last time
Brendan's hoping-
wasn't there 3 tables last time?
Yes, I think there was, yeah. Yeah, because Mary Butcher and co were on one lot, weren't they? And
Yeah.
we were on another. It was on the other one.
Do you mean me and John were on the other one?
You and John, who? You mean John and I?
John and I, Munson, Bacon.
My husband and I.
I don't know about that.
Oh,
You must introduce me this year.
What's your husband?
Dave, can you talk to Blackpool Bob? We're looking at his finger.
well,
I've
It looks
lost my
like it's frozen. Looks like you're frozen in Oz, Bob.
I've lost my
not even down there yet.
I hope it's his finger.
Frozen finger.
Well, I'm totally out of this. I haven't even
It
got a
does look
picture.
rather obscene, Robert.
Eh?
It does look rather obscene.
Really?
I think you best start again.
Well, I don't know what to do here.
Well, Bob, as long as you can hear us,
I can hear you all right. Yes.
That's all right.
Check it out. Put it back in again.
There he is. There he is.
Here we are. Here we are. I've got you now.
Yeah, you
All
do.
those pretty faces. Yes.
You'll see on the recording what your finger looked like, Bob. We were
All right.
we were all very
Like that.
jealous.
Yeah. Actually, you said, Hilda, you just said, his husband and I, and this, that, and the other. It just reminded me of, I've just had a message through from a friend who went to a wedding in Glasgow. And while he was up, he was sat next to this guy, and he said to him, the bride looks a bit, it's a little bit rough around the edges. He said, do you mind? That's my daughter you're talking about. And he said, I'm sorry, I didn't know you were her father. And he said, I'm not, I'm her mother. Honestly, it only came through tonight. I said, I've got to offload it. I even let Pat read it, and she found it very funny as well. So I thought it'd be all right for tonight. Yeah,
Very good. That I must remember that.
oh dear, yeah.
Yeah.
It's quite an interesting night. We've had a bit of finger and another one saying it's all right tonight.
And you and your husband.
Oh dear. So,
I've just paid for my lunch, so it's all set
well
up.
done, you. Well done.
All I've got to do is book somewhere to sleep now.
Oh well, that's secondary now that you're actually booked on. Did you ask to sit with anybody particular, Bob?
My secretary organised everything for me.
Oh, as in the fruit was.
Yeah.
Oh, flipping it, Fruity. I bet dread to think.
I just put with, I think I put with Dave Inge and some, whatever.
Yeah, well,
I
that's
think.
very kind, Fruity. So you mean it's just going to be me and Bob then?
Yeah, he put on it. Bob would like to sit with friends. They've got their own table.
I can't remember. Let me have a look.
Oh dear, it's all right. Hey, but look, the bigger the table, but I think you said, Gizzy, is that right? It is about 10. Or Pete, you were there. Was it?
I think it was 10, yeah.
10?
Yeah, it was 10.
10. Okay, well that's all right.
I put a couple of names and then the John Kling's Zoomers friends. So we can't go wrong, really.
You can't. Oh, well done, Scotty. Good. Hilda,
What
will you
they
still be?
always do. They don't put the crew
I-
by.
I've
Yeah.
got Dave Inge and Steve
Yeah.
Walker.
Oh,
Bob.
that's nice.
Like I said, they'll do what they always do. They put the crew bar in the corner.
Yeah, yeah.
So,
Yeah,
we could-
usually as far away as possible, Steve.
yeah.
I wonder why.
There's all the riff-raff there at the end.
We
But it
were,
is
weren't we?
that-
We were literally in the flipping corner, right?
Yeah, but don't worry, because there's a bar very close by.
Yeah, we'll say right next to the bar, isn't it?
So what's the dress code?
Well, skirt and blouse, sling back,
Sling
usual.
blouse, yeah.
Yeah,
Sling
sling
back.
back. Preferably not matching,
Normal.
you know, clashing blouses. Don't do that.
No.
Don't do that.
Lift
No.
off the shoulder number.
Yeah,
Just
no
normal then.
capellas though. No capellas.
Nancy Capellas.
Nancy
And remember
Capella.
to take the hairnet off there.
You'll have to shush the riot before you come in.
Yeah, just right before we go in, Scotty.
Just make sure
you
the
were
back,
trained there.
I'm taking it then it's casual.
Yeah,
well, it's jacket and tie.
Yeah,
Job
it is.
description.
yeah.
Yeah,
It's supposed
wear
to
a
be with
tie.
a
Yeah,
tie.
wear a tie.
There's a few. There's a few that don't, but
It is
most of
basic.
them have,
Yeah.
most of us have ties.
Just
on, yeah.
make sure the bats match the bag.
Oh, dear.
Only no high heels, Scotty, because it digs stuff in the carpet. Sling backs
Yeah.
only.
I wonder what that was in our cabin.
No, talk about cabins. We were talking to Bobo might come in, obviously, hopefully be in a little bit later. But we were talking to him this morning on the.
You mean about Latties Day?
About the latte?
Oh, right.
He's got it. Yes, yeah. But Bobo, he, you know, obviously we all know that he was the cinema attendant, became cinema attendant for quite some time before PRSing and everything else. But when he first went on the ships, he was going on about the cabin mate that he first went on board with. You know, what the question is, can you remember your first cabin mate, or if you were in one of, obviously on the older ships, the Ark and everywhere else, you had half a dozen names or more. Can you remember who they may have been or what they were like? And Hilda, I presume you've never had a cabin mate because you came on as a celebrity.
I wish.
Yeah, the cabin, mate.
Well, I did have a cabin mate actually when I first went there, because it was the old Oriana in 1963, and when I joined, I mean, as you all know, when you first walk up the gangway, you haven't got a clue where you're going. Anyway, I eventually found the crew office, which was not far from the entrance to the gangway, and I'm standing there, and there was a second steward there, as I realised afterwards. This tall queen came along and said, "Oh, can I help you?" And it turns out it was a tall one called Grace. Anyway, to cut a long story short, I was shown a cabin. I was put in this cabin, and it had got marked on the door, pastry cook and first baker. Anyway, I was in this cabin, and I was on my own for a while, and then the crew came back, and the first baker was a little Scottish guy called Angus. And when he got up of a morning, or when he went to bed of a night, he always poured himself a tot of scotch, which he left by his bedside. And when he got up in the morning, that was the first thing he did before he got out of bed, was down this tot of scotch. Anyway, I was only in there with him for a couple of days, and then the pastry chef came back, or the pastry chef came on board, which was somebody called, I don't know if you've ever met him, but he left the sea quite a few years ago. His name was Jim Blair, Scottish guy. And he went into this cabin, and I went into another cabin with another third baker, who was a Welsh guy. Believe it or not, he was called Taffy. But,
Unusual.
How unusual.
Really?
and I was in there, nice guy anyway. He was the second baker. But after that, we were changed again, and I had another one come in, another third baker. But I was then promoted up to assistant pastry cook, so I was in with a third baker, another Scottish guy called Ken Murray, who came from Carnoustie.
Really?
And that was I was there for 18 months, I suppose. We shared a cabin. And yeah, so that was my experience, my first trip to sea. And my second trip was my 21st birthday. And that's another tale to tell if I could remember it all.
Well, we'll be ready for that one as well, John. That's good. No, Blackpool Bob, can you remember your first cabin mates or how many you had in there? And
My first cabin mate, my first ship was an oil tanker, Bowrings Limited. It was a 2-berth cabin with catering boys, 2-berth cabin, believe it or not.
Mhm.
I can't remember the lad's name. I know he was from Anglesey. I remember that. But the first P&O one was the Strathern. I think we had 10-berth bellboys cabin. I haven't a clue who was in there. Can't remember.
No.
It was a long time ago, mind.
Well, apparently so, Bob, but we don't go on about that, do we?
No, thank God, no.
That's
Some do, some don't.
Some do. Yeah, all right, I'll try not to. No, move along. No, Pete, BBC Pete. Can you remember anyone in your first
Yeah,
first cabin?
it was a 10-berth. I don't think we ever had 10 in there. I think the most was about 8 or 9. And I remember a pair of brothers in there, Steve and Graham Cassidy. And there was a guy from Carshalton, Jim Smith. I can't remember any of the others. You know, there was a mixture of a couple of U-gang and ABRs. Yeah, well, it used to be great. It was just like picnics, parties and balls all the time.
I used to get invited to all the balls, Pete.
And what about you, Gizzy? What was your first?
Similar to Bob, my first trip was a shell tanker, and I did 4 ships before I joined P&O, and I had a single berth cabin on all of them, even as a catering boy.
Really?
I did 3 tankers and a bulker, and then when I joined the Orchidees, I'm not sure if it was an 8 or 10 berth cabin. I was on the U gang. I can picture a couple of the lads straight away, but the names escape me. Really do.
Yeah. But it was a big berth cabin anyway. So
it comes as a shock to me because I didn't expect to get my own cabin, of course, but I wasn't expecting to share with about 8 or 9 others. So that came as a bit of a shock.
And what about you, Scotty?
Yeah, I can remember 6 of the 7 others.
Right.
6.
Yeah, 6. I can remember all six of the names. Yeah.
Come
Of course,
on.
you're
Out of
the
8.
historian.
Sorry.
You're the historian. Of course, you can.
Well, yeah. And then you can remember some that came along later, because of being the bellboys, and there was an 8-berth cabin, and of course some got made up when they became 18 and
moved on.
So over a period of time, it changed quite regularly.
Yeah. Were there any characters on that first cabin that played up and whatever? Or
Well, there was a Timothy Fernyhound. He was a nice boy.
mm-hmm. What you mean? He helped out when they were busy, or just a nice boy?
I think
I can remember on the All Sober, one of the bellboys' cabin was the lad that was Fruity was looking at for me. Dave Dudley. He was in my cabin as I was a bellboy on the All Sober, but that wasn't my first ship. He's the only one I can remember.
Yeah. I haven't seen him for a long time, but that's only because I haven't been up there.
Yeah.
And one of the boys that was there was a short fellow with ginger hair who used to play the drums and he'd stand in for the bands sometimes. I think you drove him home, Bob.
Yeah. I was on the All Sober, Bob, as a bellboy.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. You get that, Bob?
Yeah.
What?
I say I was on the All Sober as a bellboy.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
What year?
1970.
Oh, it's a bit after me, that, yeah.
I only remember one guy from the cabin.
Brendan
though.
and Tony,
Hmm.
leaving up.
Hello
They
to
painted the hull a
Brendan.
different colour by then.
I only remember one guy.
Oh,
Tony.
Rex. Well done, Rex. Good to
Am I not
see
here?
you.
Sorry, am I interfering?
Oh
Sorry.
no, Steve. It was just a brief welcome to the two boys that have just come in, and let
All
them
right.
know what we're doing is just we were asking everyone on their sort of first trips to see can they remember the cabin mates or cabin mate that they sailed with, and if there was any story to go along with that. So that's to Brendan and to Rex. So welcome to you two boys. But Steve Walker, our crew bar director, is in full swing of a bit of Polari.
I was in the first ship horse over. I think was the 8 or 10 berth, Bob?
I think it was 8
8, yeah.
on the also. It was good. Yeah, it was
Yeah.
posh on there.
Yeah. I can only remember one guy in the cabin. I can see the faces of the others, but I can only remember one guy's name. That was Brian Whittle.
I know Brian Whittle from the ferries.
I don't remember him.
Yeah.
I was on the Orsover 1971 as a bellboy.
You'd have been there after me then. I left in 71.
There was about 9 of us in a cabin.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That right?
Oh,
Yeah.
great. So, well, eight out of bunk, and you had a what?
Yeah.
You scared?
E-deck by the
Something
steps.
like that. Yeah.
Right at the bottom of the stairs, turn around, and the cabin was right there in front of you.
That's it. That's the one.
Yeah.
True Sands
Yeah.
bellboys were
Yeah,
either
straight down
side
to the
of the
galley.
welfare leading end.
Whiz round.
Yeah, we had Ochi. Do you remember Ochi?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Ochi,
Andrews.
Luckhurst, Keith Luckhurst.
Yeah.
Another
He's still
one.
going.
He is, yeah. He's just finished the ferries at Dover.
That's right. They did they did the dirty on him, like all the P&O staff.
Yeah, they did, didn't they? Yeah, yeah. Who else was in our cabin?
I'll never forgive them, Brendan.
Ian Palmer,
Ian Palmer. Yeah, I remember Ian.
Lady Boy Palmer. He went on to be a teacher at in Maidstone. He lives in Maidstone now, and he was a teacher. A bit like what they did at Thanet College.
That's right.
You know, teaching stewards to go on the ships.
Yeah.
Oh,
That's last I heard, anyway.
Yeah,
You know. Who else was in there?
well, Rex, you've come up with a good few names, but Brendan, can you remember we haven't asked Colonel yet either, and Fruity, but we'll come up to them in one moment. But Brendan, is on your first ship, obviously that was the Spirit, wasn't it?
Well, when we were at sea school, we were on the course. I think Rex was on the same course, and 4 of us got called out of the classroom.
Oh, mate, all right, Brendan.
Myself, Colin Horn, Alec Craig, and a guy called Stephen Waymart.
That's it.
Mm-hmm.
We got called out, and we thought, what have we done wrong? You know, we thought we were in trouble. We got called down, and we were told we'd been picked to join the Spirit of London for a maiden voyage. And we came back. You know, we weren't allowed to say anything to anybody. You know, of course, everyone's asking, what, you know, were you in trouble or something? But we said no. But eventually, it came out. I think I can't remember. But I remember running down to the from the sea school to the local travel agent to get the P&O cruise brochure to see where this ship was going. And I looked at all the places it was going, and I thought, this is going to be amazing. And it was off to the Caribbean and all sorts. But we didn't know much about it. But going back to those 3 other bellboys, Colin Horn, Colin, I shared a cabin. He was my first cabin mate on the Spirit of London, and then he left and he went to Canberra, and then he left the cruises. I don't know what the story was, but he left, and he turned up. I was doing some training in Felixstowe for P&O Dover, and I was delivering this training, and he put his hand up. He said, Brendan, he said, we sailed together in 1972. So this is about 23, 24 years later. And he went to the Plate House, and he stayed in the Plate House the whole time for 20 odd years on Felixstowe ferries, and he loved it. He loved it.
Yeah.
But now John said that he was in touch with Jimmy McIntyre in Thailand or something. I don't know.
Yeah.
So quite a story with Colin. Yeah, he's a nice guy, Colin. Yeah, I got on well with him.
Good.
And then there was another bellboy, Stephen Waymark. He didn't stay
Waymark,
very
yeah.
long. And I remember him because he was a Tottenham fan. I never really got on with him, but
He was barman on the P&O Normandy.
that's
ferry.
right. He was a barman on the Normandy ferries. And Alec Craig, I don't know what happened to Alec. He did one trip and that was it.
Got it. Okay. A quick
Sorry, I
Brendan,
went on a bit too long there.
Hello,
I still got the
Charlie.
photo.
Good afternoon, all.
Welcome, Charlie. Good
Hi, Charlie.
All right.
Yeah.
Brendan, do you know if that Colin Horn did get in contact with Jimmy McIntyre or not?
I've no idea. John. Someone was it you told me he was in Thailand with Jimmy?
That's right. Yeah, I think because you asked me, and because I think I asked if you knew him because Jimmy McIntyre had asked me if I knew him. Apparently, he originally came from Broadstairs, I believe.
That's right. Yeah, he's from Broadstairs. He lives in Broadstairs. St.
He
Peter's.
still lives there, does he?
I think so. I'm not sure what the story is.
Got it.
I don't remember him, although we was on the ship together. I don't actually remember him.
Yeah.
Just to let Charlie know, Charlie, welcome, and Bobo. Nice to see you. With Bobo, you'll remember this morning we were talking about you and your first trips and your cabin mates and the when you were working on Aronze and such like with the cinema. It triggered off to ask everyone the same about where they were and what ship and what cabin mates they had. So we've been going through it quite well actually. But Charlie, before I ask Colonel and Fruity, Charlie, when you first went to sea, what can you remember the cabin mate, or were you in a cabin with a lot of other crew, or just a 2-berth? And can you remember anything about it?
It was a 4-berther on the Arcadia in 70. There was the third butcher, a third baker, 2 third bakers, and a third cook.
Mm-hmm. And can you remember any of their names? Were any of them?
Peter Kendall was one of the third cook, and Colin Dodson was the baker, and John Turner was the other cook. John Turner.
Okay, well done on that. Thanks for remembering on that.
And all 4 of us were, when we left Southampton, 7 days later, we ended up in Bermuda, oddly enough. And all 4 of us, for the first 5 days, were seasick all the way, vomiting, throwing up, the whole business.
No.
What can I ask what year that was, Charles?
1970.
70. Oh, right. Okay. Yeah. No, I was on the Ark 73.
Got it.
Okay. Yeah. I was back on there again later, but I think it was 74 or 75, maybe.
Yeah.
Okay. Right.
Cruising out of Frisco.
Quick hello to Ray.
We did the Atlantic cruising first off on there, and then I think the second time we was on it was Medi cruising or something like that.
Yeah,
but I'm not 100% sure.
Thanks, Charlie. Now I'm going to pass over to Fruity. Fruity, when you first went, were you in a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7-berth cabin, or
25?
And what ship was it?
Single, Oriana.
And what was your cabin mate like?
Which one?
Regularly.
The one
The right hand or your left hand?
Whoa.
The Phantom Gobbler lived in the next alleyway up.
Even better. And well done to Colonel. You're getting the taffy drag out already, which is good. Colonel, can you remember your cabin mates and
and this is relevant to John Herbert because he knows who I'm going to be talking about. Right. I was a third cook and baker, and my cabin mate was the fish cook, don't fucking remember his name. But the one I remember is a Scottish git, 4 foot nothing across the alleyway, who called me a sandwich maker, and he wanted me out of the crew mess up in the galley where I knew I'd be thrown off the ship. Thanks to Lou Menzies, God bless him, because he loved me, I survived like 18 months before I had to beg Hockey to get me into the up to
Topside.
Up to the catering thing, yeah. So
yeah. Front of the house.
Lou Menzies was a hell of a nice guy, actually, and a very good chef.
Do you remember the Scottish kid I'm talking about, John? I think he was a baker or butcher. Yeah.
Alex Pake, was it? Alex Pake?
I
Alex
don't know.
Pate, that name rings a bell, but I can't. I don't know.
Little short fella.
No, it's all good. It all worked out in the end. All worked out in the end.
No, it's obviously, hello Taffy, nice to see you. Just to let you know, we're asking about your first ship and obviously your first cabin mates, but we'll ask Zachary first. Hello Ray, or Vancouver.
Hello, sorry I'm late.
All right, mate. Ray, can you tell us if you remember any of your first cabin mates on the Sun and anything particular about them?
Yeah. One very memorable night, I shared a cabin with Dave Hall.
Oh,
is it a 2-berth or more?
Yes, Cooley Hall. Next door was Kevin. I can't remember his last name, and I think it was John. And everybody remembers the 2 bellboys cabins. They were side by side in that alleyway, and the fish tank was at the end of the alleyway. And one night, I woke up in the middle of the night. I was on the top bunk, and I could hear water running. And I looked over the side of the bunk, and in the light from the open door, our cabin door was open. Kevin was standing in the corner of the cabin, taking a piss against the wall. And as I watched, I saw this dark stain spreading across the carpet, and then he zipped up and left. And I woke Dave Hall up, and I said, Kevin just pissed against the wall in our cabin. And he's like, what are you talking about? And I said, he just pissed against the wall. And we both got out of bed, and sure enough, the carpet was all wet. And we went next door. And Kevin was fast asleep in his bunk, like out cold. So we never woke him up. And the next day we told him what had happened, and he would not believe us, but there was a stain left to prove it.
Dear. Hey, so Taffy, can you remember your first? Was it a 2-berth cabin you first had, or was it a bigger cabin? And who were you sharing with?
Well, a lovely little story came to mind because it cropped up in the Aussie Crew Bar this morning about cabins, and immediately a story came to mind, and it was my first trip on the Canberra, which I put up. That's the Canberra in Hong Kong.
Mm-hmm.
But I joined the Canberra in 1973 in New York Harbor, and my cousin, my dear cousin, God bless her, rest in peace now, she's gone, but she was a nanny over there, and she was only 18 or 19 years of age. And she brought 3 of her mates down that she'd made friends with out there, American friends, down to the ship. She lived in upstate New York. And of course, I boxed off straight away with one of them. And my cabin was a 2-berth inboard. And it was only maybe my first or second cruise. And we were, this is the truth. So we're lying on in this 2-berth. I'm on the bottom bunk. I mean, snuggling and kissing and cuddling or whatever. Well, it had gone farther than that. But all the lights were off. And when I woke up, there was a cockroach on her ass. Because the cockroaches on there was totally infested then, and anyhow, whether they managed to get it under control, I don't know. But they all seemed to, and I was a bit horrified because it's only about my second trip. But they used to walk along the top above you, along the bottom of the top bunk. When you had the lights out, it's all right if you kept the lights on.
The Bombay Canaries.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that was my first trip, and anyhow, first or second trip.
Oh dear, oh dear.
That's your first cabin, mate,
Then
with
you
the
share the
top rope.
cabin with me.
Well, the ark had Pete would know, wouldn't you, Pete? The ark had all the cockroaches on there. If you had the top bunk,
Oh, the arcade.
across the top,
Everybody went for the bottom bunk.
they did.
That's interesting.
As soon as you got in there.
Yeah.
The story of Ray in that bellboy's cabin next to the fish tank. I remember we were on our first trip, I think it was, or second trip. There were two polyroom stewards next door, and one of them had pulled a bit of crumpet, and we watched him take her in the cabin, and we thought, hello. So we're there, and we said, if you get a glass, you can hear everything, you know. There's two of us on the top bunk, and we got these glasses, and we're sort of going all over the bulkhead.
Yeah.
And all of a sudden, everything stops, and we're looking at each other with these glasses, and this voice booms out. If you fucking catering boys don't take those glasses off the bulkhead, I'll lift it so hard it'll smash in your ear. And that was the same bunk, Ray.
Is that the same bunk? Yeah.
The top bunk next to it. Yeah.
Actually, those cabins could tell a lot of stories.
Yeah. Yeah. I was saying about the Canberra. It was
I'm not saying anything about the fish tank again.
But we remember the fish tank, Steve.
I'm not saying the story about the fish tank again.
No, you're
this
not.
week.
No, you're not.
No,
Not this
not
week.
yet. But right to Canberra, it was July 74, first trip, and I signed on, and I was going to be. I said to the boys this morning I was doing a bellboy's job in the restaurant. I wasn't rating, but did a bellboy's job in the restaurant. Anyway, I had a 2-berth wingers cabin, and I thought I'd go and find whoever I'm sharing with. So I go on. Apparently, his name was John, and he worked up in the Pacific in the Forward Lounge, in the Forward Restaurant. So I went up there and I found him, and I said, "Excuse, are you John?" He said, "Yeah." He said, "John, yeah." He said, "Who are you?" I said, "Oh, I'm Dave. I'll be your cabin mate." And I said, and I call you John. He said, "Well, no, after tonight, dear, you can call me Daisy Bell." And I thought, did I really sleep that night? No, I didn't.
The rest is history. The rest is history.
Okay.
Oh dear, yeah, a bit nerve-wracking, dear.
Are you still in touch with Daisy Bell then?
Yes, I'm not. I nearly answered then. No,
What
I
happens
am
on
not,
the Canberra
no.
stays on the Canberra.
Yeah, thanks very much indeed, Charlie. Yeah, dear, oh dear.
I just remembered a saying that this Scotch guy, this Angus, used to say. He was only a little guy, but when he was talking about his wife, and in his, I'm not going to try and do this Scottish accent, but his favourite saying was, she's 24, 24, 24, as straight as a shithouse door, was his favourite saying about his wife.
Right, and you've never forgotten it, Hilda. No.
Greetings, everybody.
Hello, Colin.
Colin. How are you? Right.
Good, good. Colin, you're just in time to be asked. What was your first? On the first ship you were on, how many cabin mates did you have, and can you remember any of them?
Yes, I can actually. Yeah, I can. I was on.
What?
Who's got the cows in the background? Who's got the cows in the background?
I can't finish the colonel.
Who's
yeah, I can actually.
Got a new toy.
Nice. Stop it!
Oh, don't tell me. Colin, you haven't brought the bloody frog zone with you, have you?
No.
I reckon that's bloody Colonel.
Right.
Flipping Colonel there.
That's good. Thank you.
Okay,
I can see me now.
Right, so
Uh,
you want to know what ship? My first ship was the Orchides
Yeah.
in 1968. Okay, and
Yep.
how many were in my cabin? Is that what you asked?
Yeah, how many? And can you remember any of them?
Right, there was 6 in the cabin, and I can remember. Got to think about this now. Obviously, me, and there was a guy called Bob Royston from. He was from Grimethorpe in Yorkshire, and there was another guy called Charlie Cranton from the Gorbals in Glasgow.
Yeah.
And he was a real bundle of laughs. He was, he was great. He used to sit there and think he was, I don't know, he used to beat people up in his mind because he came from the Gorbals. And the only other one I can remember was a great big tall guy who actually went from catering into the deck department. And I cannot remember his name. And I don't know why he changed over, but there you go. It happened. He did the catering course at Gravesend and then turned up on the ship and said, I don't want to do this. I want to be a decky. So he turned into an OS, ordinary seaman, whatever it was. Yeah, strange. And there was another guy called Minty Green. And he was called Minty because he didn't shower.
Yeah.
Is that like the? Is that like the cook on the Sun Princess who got called Dirty Bulkheads after he got pulled up? He got pulled up on the rounds as having dirty bulkheads. So from that on, everybody called him Dirty Bulkheads.
Everybody called him Dirty Bulkheads.
Yeah. I think Pratty was must have been the DP in those days as well, and used to come round on inspection, didn't he? And he would love to write up the rounds report, but he always embellished it and put in other things just to make it entertaining reading, And that was.
You just mentioned inspections there, Dave. Cabin inspections, the weekly inspection which happened, captain's inspection, and it doesn't matter who came round and all that. But do you know what the best thing was? All you had to do was leave something for them to find, and they walk out the cabin feeling happy.
Yeah.
So if you left a dirty cup underneath the bed, and they found it, you go, yes, they found it, great, and they walk out happy. And then the second steward or the third steward would have to come around and do a re-inspection at 5 o'clock in the afternoon, and he hated it. He absolutely hated it. And he'd open the door and go, "All right, boys, bye." And that was it. That's all he ever did.
There was a bar. Sorry, go on.
I was going to say,
bartender. Sorry,
one term when I was on leave from the Sun, and you all know Trevor Shakespeare, or a lot of you know Trevor Shakespeare.
Yeah.
And he'd been out there, he was out there relieving me. And apparently, on an inspection day, Trevor was still in the cabin on the bunk, having a one off the wrist. When the door opened, I don't know who the inspection officer was, but they just opened the door and looked. And apparently Trevor turned around and says, "Well, either come in and join me or else shut the fucking door."
What did he put in the report?
Come on in and give me a hand or nap off.
I don't think it went in the rounds report, no.
There was a bartender. Sorry, there was a bartender he was on the Sun. You guys would remember him, but I can't for the life of me think of his name. He was tall, sort of had thinning hair, mostly bald, super nice chap. And I actually met up with him. I think it was one of the Sky Princess or one of the new ships that came out after I'd gone back and was on the Royal. And he was storekeeper then. But when he was on I'm going to say Sun Princess because I think it was the Sun Princess. When he was on the Sun Princess, he was dating one of the shop girls, and she was sort of semi-living with him, and she left a bra hanging on the back of the door, and Sammy Bradford was doing the rounds, and he found this bra hanging out the back of the door, and he wanted to give him a written warning for cohabiting, and he accused him of cohabiting with this girl, and he said, "I'm not cohabiting." And he said, "Well, why is there a bra on the back of your door?" And he said, "What I wear in my own time is my own affair." so Sammy had
Sammy would love that one.
I was going to say you're on about Pratty embellishing it. I can always remember on the Canberra, Dickie Rutter did the crew rounds where my cabin was. Perhaps to put on their gin bottles, Dusty.
One of the things I remember when on the Sun, when I think JY was doing the rounds, occasionally he used to go around and all that, and it was something to do with exploding toilets. Okay, you know, they were all vacuum, weren't they?
Yeah, evac system.
Yeah, they were vacuum type toilets, and exploding toilets. And he put on the rounds report, the chief engineer is looking into these. Which I thought was very funny.
Oh God! But you will have heard the story, and lots of us were on there. But it was when Caveman, the printer, was on board. He used to be up early to do the printing of the menus and the daily news sheet. So he then used to have a few hours morning break before he'd be then setting off to do the next bit of work. But it coincided with the captain's inspection, so he didn't want to miss out on his morning nap. So he got his Mexican blanket and he hung it underneath the daybed, over the daybed, so he could get in under the daybed. The bunk was already made up, but he'd get in under the daybed with a pillow, and the Mexican blanket would hang over the side of the daybed, so you didn't know he was in there. Well, of course, he'd been on the RAS the night before, and when he put the blanket on, he didn't pull it down sufficiently. So when Pratty came in to do the rounds, they could see him sleeping under the daybed, but they didn't say anything. But it just, on the rounds report, it said, "Printer's cabin, please remove printer from under daybed." You know.
I remember that incident well.
Oh, it's great. Yeah, it's great. Loved it.
Aggie got into trouble with Sammy Bradford too, because he stuck a sign on his door saying "deliveries in rear," and Sammy had a fit about that.
Oh,
PP, we used to just leave a can of beer for the captain, and he'd sit down and drink it.
Oh, really? Oh, that's Andy Scotty. Yeah.
Yeah,
definitely wasn't Sammy.
Remember that, Jim and Jock Lefevre.
Oh,
Jock. Scotch Jock, eh? He was all right.
So Pete, you'd have sailed with Jock Lefevre, wouldn't you? For
Yeah,
quite a while?
yeah,
Jock was all right, mate.
yeah, he was.
I had a lot of fun with Jock Lefevre.
Yeah, never used to bother you.
No, it was football mad. And
what was his team then?
I'm not sure actually. It was Celtic, wasn't it? I think.
Yeah, I think it might.
I'm not sure, to be honest with you. I never did find out, but it was football mad, and he took a great interest in ship's football teams, of which on Orkneys I was like. Do many of you remember Dave Allsop?
Yeah.
I still keep in touch with Dave. He lives in Devon now, but he's a big Leicester fan, and every couple of times he comes up and we meet up and have a chin wagon. I played with Dave Allsop in the football team. Of course, I couldn't do anything wrong, you see, at all.
Yeah.
Dave Allsop in Dave Allsop's section, he was a bedroom steward. He never ever had a problem.
Dave's on
Allsop's been out in Gower a few times. He's been round to my apartment here a couple of times for dinner.
Sorry?
Dave Allsop's been out in Gower a few times. He's been round to my place here for dinner a couple of times.
Yes, I think he said to me, he lives in Teignmouth.
Yeah.
Yeah. Dave's on the old Facebook page.
That's right, yeah.
A lot. Yeah, it'd be nice to be
I often have a chin wag with him, He's a Colville lad, which is town not far from me. But
Well, we
yeah,
were
so
all in
that's
the
quite a
C
bit
deck.
common.
We were all in C deck forward together, and as cabin stewards.
Yeah.
Right, guys,
Dave was a pretty good footballer, to be fair.
Yeah, guys,
Yeah,
I'm going to shoot. I'll catch you all next week. Okay.
Fruity. Oh, Fruity. Is there at the end of the show? Will we be having an Oscar rerun?
Yeah, there's a rerun. Yeah. I haven't heard anything from Oscar. I did send him an email today, but I've not heard anything from him.
Right.
So I might give him a ring. Well, depends what time I get back tomorrow afternoon. But I'll give it.
Yeah, and if you could
normally work Mondays.
If you could remind him that the off season's coming to an end, Foodie.
No, there's still about 8 or 10.
Yeah,
all right.
But we've got plenty in the bag, haven't we, Fruity?
Yeah, we've got plenty of reruns still. Yeah.
And then we've got the rerun of the rerun after the rerun. Yeah.
We'll do the P&O story again.
That'll see us through till Christmas.
Actually, there's a bonus today because at the very end of the recording, I had something just a minute or so. Well, today it is Phil Butcher and Ron Blackman and Bungy doing the Three Little Maids. Only lasts a minute. It's fun to see again. Yeah.
Oh,
hey guys, well I've got to go.
Is that the one with Big Mary?
Yeah.
Catch you all later. Bye.
Good boy. Good boy.
Bye.
Rex, whereabouts are you located?
I'm in Jersey.
Oh, okay. The Channel Islands, right?
Yeah, I think so. Yep, that's it.
Yeah. Not the other one.
No, not New Jersey.
Yeah. Right.
This is the old one.
I've been here 40 years. So I came off the boats and then I moved over here. So yeah.
Do I know you, Rex? I don't think I do know you, Rex.
I'm not sure, Colin. Which ships?
Orchides, Oriana, Island Princess, Sun Princess, Sea Princess, Canberra.
Yeah, I did the Canberra last cruise on it, 75.
I'm trying to think when I was on there. Canberra would have been 74. The ship went to Rio on a South American.
The Canberra?
I'll tell you where. Canberra, yeah. In 75, I think 74, 75.
Yeah.
It says here Southampton World Cruise, January the 8th, 1975.
Yes.
No, didn't do that one.
That one.
No. I just wonder whether we've met.
I was on there then.
That's all. Didn't know whether we'd met before. Don't know.
Rex.
Well, I went on the Canberra and I didn't have a job.
Oh, didn't you?
No, P&O had allocated me on there, and I was on there, and I didn't have a job, so I had to wait. I had to hide till we sailed because I thought I'm not getting off.
You stowed away, basically.
I had 2 jobs come up there: a US and a waiter. Well, I did the waiter first, but then I swapped to the US.
We were waiters together, weren't we, Rex?
We were.
We were in the Atlantic.
What was the US? What was the US, right?
U-Gang.
Utilities, sure.
Oh, U-Gang.
U-Gang, yeah.
Yeah, 75 I left. That was the last cruise I did, that Canberra one.
Yeah.
74, 75 World Cruise. I was working in the Crow's Nest with Noel that trip.
Yes, you were.
With Noel Hogan.
We've been on there together, huh?
Yeah.
With Noel Hogan, Bob.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There's a couple of them that I can remember, but I can't, the names that I was trying to find if anyone remembers the stowaway that we had on one of the ships, but I think it was on the Ark that we had the stowaway, Mike Clean, and we chucked him off the ship. We didn't, the crew, everyone, he was asked to leave, and we was in Guam. And there's toilets.
That, Rex. I
Do you remember that?
Yeah. Didn't he come on in San Francisco?
That's
and
it.
We took him all the way down to Guam. Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, good.
So
right,
my
yeah.
ABR got off in Guam. He jumped ship.
He went off and we
He always
shaved him.
was stupid.
we gave him a shave because he had this massive big beard, and when we got it, when they said it was they had a man of arms on the door at the time on the thing, they see him coming back, so they sent him off again. And when he was down, a lot of the crew went into the loos right on the harbour side there, and we shaved him because he had this massive big beard, and we got some clothes, and we managed to get him back on for a little while. But then they found him again before we sailed and chucked him off. I'm glad, Pete. I'm glad you remember that, because the thing is,
definitely.
Yeah. And we had this. What he did, he used to collect, and he made $1 million at the end of it when he got off and went home to America, because he had collected. He had a big sack. He always carried this big sack, and there was cans of drink that had been opened upside down, and he sold them all off. He had a little stall somewhere in Frisco, and people came and bought these because it was such a new idea. And he wrote a book and everything, but I've Googled and I can't find nothing about him. I did find something about him about 20 years ago, but now it's all disappeared. So yeah, manic. Oh, I'm glad Pete came in there and said that.
I bet Steve Watts comes on. If he does, he'll probably remember it. No, I remember it vividly. This guy being chucked off in Guam, because I think it was the only time we ever went to Guam.
I know, yeah.
We
went there on a once, Pete.
Yeah, it was the American base, wasn't it?
It was, right, yeah. We did a cherry blossom cruise. I think we stopped at Guam on the way.
I think that's what happened. Yeah.
We were doing a lot to look at, really, was it?
Yeah, it was bloody hot.
I think you were there then, Scotty, weren't you?
Yeah, I was there.
You seem to remember that, yeah.
Yeah, that's where my ABR got off in the Guam. Jump ship.
Right. Jump ship in Guam?
He did, yeah.
Oh.
Does anyone remember the guy who picked up on the Sun Princess in Alaska, who crash landed his plane at the back of us?
Yeah, I remember that. I remember that, Steve.
Yeah. We took him
Who
on
was
board.
that, Steve? Who
We're
did
on
that?
the Sun Princess.
Go on,
He
say the
must have been
story
in
again.
trouble with his plane, and he ditched it in the water behind us, didn't he?
He thought the ship at night. He thought the ship was the runway. He got lost, and apparently on the bridge, as I remember it, because it's one of the coxswains who told the story. On the bridge, they were talking to the Coast Guard, and they were trying to guide this guy who was in his little plane, and he was lost. And then he suddenly announced that he could see the runway, and what he could see was the ship. And they up on the bridge, they could hear him flying, because the ship at night has the lights running in a line down both sides. So when you're high up, it actually looks like a runway. And he was almost out of fuel, and so he ditched, and they put down a lifeboat and sent the lifeboat over. And as I understand it, according to the coxswain, I can remember him telling the story in the crew bar that night. They pulled alongside the plane, and the guy basically had climbed out of the cockpit and walked along the wing. And literally, as he stepped off the bloody wing onto the lifeboat as the plane sank, and they brought him back on and dropped him off in Juneau or somewhere.
Yeah, but I believe when we got to the port the next day, the authorities come on board for him, and he'd done a runner.
He was a wanted man.
He was on the run, I believe. The police was
on the wing.
On the wing, yeah, lying on the wing, yeah.
Literally.
Yeah.
D.B. Bailey, was it?
Fell off the ship and did a runner. That's what I was told, anyway.
That's amazing timing, Pete. You talked about Watsy coming in, and here he is. Bingo.
Yeah. Steve,
was anybody on the Star Prince? Was anybody on the Star Princess when myself and the chef Ralph
Ralph Hurren.
Yeah, we came out to do a Alaska cruise on the Star Princess before we took it over as Arcadia, mainly to see what alterations we needed to do in the galley and the bakery before we took it over. And the cruise before we joined it, I think we joined it in Anchorage. And the cruise before we joined, I think there was a couple of our PRSs, Filipinos, that was on one of these flights going over the glaciers. And apparently it hit one of the glaciers and sunk, and they never did retrieve the bodies. And that was quite an atmosphere or sad feeling on the ship when we joined it. And this is apparently what we found out had happened. I think it was 2 Filipino bar stewards that actually perished in this accident. It was one of these little like six-seater things.
Yeah,
I've done that flight myself in actual fact with Phil Butcher.
Does anyone remember the Italian waiter that jumped off the jetty in Palm Island and broke his neck?
No, there was one
he
that
didn't jump off. He didn't.
There was one-
He didn't jump off the jetty. Actually, I didn't know him that well, but he and I used to play backgammon together, and that was devastating. He ran down the beach. Somebody saw him run down the beach and dive in the water, and his head hit the bottom, and he broke his neck. And then they discovered him floating.
Right.
Yeah, they discovered him floating alongside the pier, and they hauled him out of the water, but his neck was broken. I guess that did more damage. And there was a doctor there, and they tried to revive him, but he drowned and died. Yeah.
Wow.
I think there was a laundryman. There was a laundryman on the True Sand that did that. I think you were there, Bob.
What was that?
The laundryman on the True Sand. Moore, Derek Moore was his name. He in Madeira.
What?
He dived off the sea wall in Madeira.
Oh, I've got a vague recollection of that. He's
got a very thin beard. He was there. Cass was in the laundry.
Okay, so it's been a bit hectic the last few minutes, but Pete's got a question for Wadsey.
Steve, were you on the Ark when I think we went out from San Francisco, and we were going to a Cherry Blossom cruise across the Pacific up to Japan and down to Sydney with the we had a stowaway on there who got off the ship in Guam. Rex remembers it.
No, don't remember, Pete. Not
it
not
would
that I
be
remember.
73 or 74.
No, definitely not. No, didn't join Ark until 75.
Ah, right.
Oh, right.
Fair enough. Yeah.
Okay, fair enough.
Well, we'll have to find somebody else, Pete.
Someone wrote about a murder on the Arcadia, and I seem to remember a story about one of the Pakistani deck crew who got murdered by another crew member.
Yeah, there was.
Got stabbed. Yeah, they were rival families from back in where they came from in Pakistan.
Wow.
I can't remember the story, but I remember it. You know, I remember it.
I remember when the sun was in with
during,
the Island Princess.
Go on, John.
So the sun was in with the Island Princess in Los Angeles one turn there, and I think this Island Princess was sailing first, and we were still tied up at the end of the pier. And just as it was moving away from the pier, the gangway was still across. One of the Mexicans was late returning to the ship, and somehow he got up onto the top and tried to jump down onto the top of the gangway.
I remember that, John. I remember that.
And he fell, and he went right down onto the quay. And obviously, he was instant death because somebody came out and covered the body up, but you could see the blood running out. It was quite horrendous, actually, because everybody saw it, passengers included. And he was a Mexican. I'm not sure what he was, but that was quite a...
Talking of that, John, there was an incident on... I've got a feeling it might have been Island Princess, where one of the guys was crushed in the watertight door.
I remember that. I was on that.
Yeah, I remember that, Jim.
Yeah.
That was
Is
Dave
it
Hawkins on the
Island?
Dave Hawkins on the Sun Princess.
Yes,
Dave
but Dave
Hawkins.
It was
Hawkins
an American
survived, didn't
shop
he?
woman as well, got caught in the...
That was Dave. That was Harry the
attack.
dog.
Yeah,
An
but
attack.
Harry survived, didn't he?
Yes.
And,
Yeah,
and,
and
No,
and
the
an
one, I'm
Italian
sure the one
waiter
on the Island Princess
Princess.
who was killed, I think.
Oh dear.
Yeah.
There was a go-go that lost his half his head when a rope snapped.
Half his head.
Yeah, that was on camera, that.
Ruth?
Eh?
Yeah,
It
laundry.
was at Canberra, was it? I couldn't
Yeah,
remember which one it was.
The rope, he was in the laundry, wasn't he?
He
Down
was
there.
in the laundry, yeah.
in Tenerife. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Oh, yeah.
yeah, on the back, on the aft.
Gizzy, Dave Hawkins, he ended up, I was there when that happened, and he ended up in hospital in Juneau for a year.
That's
And
right.
the
Yeah,
nurse
that's
that
right.
took
Yeah.
care of him, eventually he married the nurse that took care of him, and then he emigrated to the US, and he was living in Seward in Alaska, and he became like a born-again Christian.
That's right. I was about to say he turned to religion, didn't he?
He was looking after the Seaman's mission, Seaman's Fair, and you know.
Yeah, and I went
Seaman's
to
what, Dave?
visit him.
Hang on, let
I
Ray
went to
finish.
visit him in Seward, and for a while there, he was sending letters out, and I was in touch with him. But because I'm so bad at keeping in touch, I've lost touch with him. But as I understand it, he's still there, and I'm surprised. I would think that some people on the group may actually still be in touch with him.
We have been. We have over the years. We have had connections with, and he does send through the articles. But he's now. I think he's now moved on from where he was. But the actual
Dave, I think you've had your job taken off you.
Yeah.
The traffic lights.
He now lives in Canada.
Oh, my God. Yeah, he does live in Canada, doesn't he?
He lives in Canada now, does Harry Hawkins.
Yeah, yeah.
Does he? Where does he live in Canada? Do you know?
Right next door to you. He dressed up as a bear, and he was climbing in your garden the last we saw of him.
Yeah.
I'm not sure, but I can find out from Kevin the printer.
Yeah, if you could do that, that would be great. And Dave, I need to give you some information about me contacting Dave. Sorry, Manchester Mick.
All right.
I'll send it to you via email.
Well, funnily enough, I had a flipping text. Who knows Manchester Mick?
Yeah, I do.
Funnily enough, he sent a text to me today. He said he just put on it. He says, "Fancy a horse in the 133 at Hereford? It's called Harvey Wallbanger, and we all like them. 12-1, got no chance, but had to have £1 each way on it just in case." So that was just today. So he is alive and well. So hopefully you'll hear from him as well, Zachary, or you'll get in touch with him. In the near future. But
we need to encourage him to come in the crew bar. That'd be great.
He's a little bit limited on his techno as well. He's not.
It can't be any worse than me, David.
Excuse me, but he
can't be any worse than me.
He hasn't got Louise right next to him.
Well, yeah, I do. She's just brought me my dessert.
Yeah. You're stuck on your own there now, Colin. You won't be able to turn it off, will you?
She just brought me my dessert for apple strudel and custard.
Even better. Hey, look, Bobo, it's been nice to see you moving around on your screen today.
Thank you.
Sorry you haven't sort of verbally taken part like you did this morning, and it was great. Wonderful.
Can I just say to everybody that there is a new arrival in the family due tomorrow morning?
All right.
Oh, wow. Oh, really?
Yes. Alex is here tonight, but she's got a scheduled cesarean for tomorrow morning.
Oh no!
Oh, marvelous!
Yeah,
brilliant.
All right.
So I'll keep you informed as it goes on.
Yeah, fantastic. Well, don't get nervous. Hopefully, it's not going to be like Blackpool Bob's Pups. Let's hope it's not at one. All right.
Hopefully not.
Hopefully not. All right. Well, look, boys, Colonel's now left the building. We know that there is an Oscar rerun afterwards. Plus, we've got the Three Little Maids coming in as a finale from Colonel.
Yeah, lovely.
But well, thanks for all coming in, and look forward to it. This week, Colonel's not going to play the music after we finish here.
That was two weeks ago, Dave.
It seems only like yesterday, Johnny.
It was a technical
Fuck
effort.
up.
Yeah.
It was.
Yes, okay, no problem.
I'll play the goodbye music.
Yeah,
Cheers,
all right,
everybody.
okay.
Everybody, take care now.
And you
Yeah,
guys.
Blouses off and the men they dance on the polka dots, and his partner found and his partner lost, and it's hell to pay when the fiddler stops. It's closing time, closing time, closing time, closing time. Yeah, women tear their blouses off and the men they dance on the polka dots, and his partner found and his partner lost, and it's hell to pay when the fiddler stops.
Hello, everyone. This is Oscar, the Wally's Pocket, with Oscar Tales. At the end of the voyage as Bureau Bellboy, there was a shuffle round of bellboy jobs, and I found myself in the job I hated the most, galley boy. Cleaning chop covers, pots and pans was not my thing, and I hated the hot and smelly job. The evil second steward knew I hated it, and every time he passed through the galley, he smirked at me and said, "Enjoying yourself, Bells?" and went off chuckling at his witty little quip. I knew I was doomed to be kept down in the galley forever, to amuse this devil with 3 silver stripes who controlled my destiny. So imagine my surprise when late one afternoon I was told to report to the second steward's office. "Ah, Bells, there you are," he greeted me in a friendly fashion. I immediately got suspicious and wondered what horrors were about to be inflicted on me for his amusement. "Tell me, would you like a change of job? You don't seem very happy in the galley." Of course, I smelled a rat, but cautiously allowed that I would prefer other employment. "How would you like your old job back as Bureau Bellboy?" he asked. So I said it would suit me fine, wondering what the catch was and how I was to be fooled. And it wasn't even April Fool's Day. "Well then, go and change into uniform and report to Mr. Pollard, the senior assistant purser in the bureau, as his present bellboy has not worked out, and he's going to do galley boy. And Mr. Pollard has particularly asked for you." So I reported to the bureau, and Maxie Pollard said to me, "Ah, Oscar, remember the little incident a few months ago when the Gestetner machine played up and you and Mr. Rutter managed to put it right? Well, Mr. Rutter is on a 2-week course at Leadenhall Street offices for his 2-week cruise, and we have a little problem with the machine." Lights began to dawn in my brain as I realized they were in a mess with the machine, and I could be a hero and save the day. I looked at the machine in the back office with ink everywhere and said, "Oh no, I don't know if it can be done, but I can try." Everybody left to get ready for dinner and left me to my mucky task, and I duplicated the moves exactly as Dickie and I had done in several months before. A couple of hours later, I was off round the ship delivering the good morning sheet to the officers' cabins, and the bulk of the copies went to the cabin stewards for delivery to the passengers with their morning tea tray. Next day, the senior assistant purser congratulated on my success and said, "You really must show one of us how you do that." Under my breath as I walked away, I said to myself, I am never going to do that. For as long as I keep this knowledge to myself, I will always be Bureau Bellboy, and I am not ever going back to that galley again. And do you know, I stayed Bureau Bellboy until I was 18 and got promotion to assistant steward. Well, that's all, folks, for this week. From Oscar. Oh, and always remember,